In a world that's rushing, we slow it down, finding light where shadows surround. Heart to heart, where the truth is told. We rise together, stories unfold. The gold is within. If you don't go within, you go without. Every voice, every heart, it's what we're about. Together we rise, hand in hand, soul to soul. Warm, safe and loving, making each other.
Hello. Woo!
And
we are in
welcome.
the happy mode today. Welcome.
Yes, we are.
We are the dynamic duo, mother-daughter.
And I am Coach Rochelle.
I'm Coach Alisha Schwartz. And today on the Enlightened View series, we have some great guests.
Some really fabulous people coming on.
Yes, we do. And today's topic, the rules we were given.
Oh my God.
God knows we were given lots of rules.
How many hours do you have? Not a lot. Okay, so
you go, girl.
You
got a lot. You got a lot.
I have so many rules
because you're so much older. So
I know this was really something.
I know.
But really, what came to me was I saw my mother became very subservient to my ex-husband, like my mother was.
So what was that
the
rule?
rule was you have to service your man. So that's what I did. And, you know, because they always say that food is to your heart, to your
like medicine?
Yeah, something like that. So anyhow, and then you weren't allowed to talk about your feelings either.
So feelings.
So that was a no.
Don't talk about it.
No, it was always under the
Hide
carpet.
the feelings.
But one of the things I do remember is that when we would be in the car, my sisters and I would start laughing, and my father would get so pissed off.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
And now, and so we weren't allowed to laugh. Can you imagine not laughing?
That's interesting because my dad has the same thing. Whenever you laugh, he's like, "Why are you laughing?"
Yeah, right.
He does. He's never happy. So
right.
It's so funny
It
how
is.
that's the generational.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Absolutely.
Very interesting.
And so, you know, then you become like a people pleaser, you know, and certainly that gets you nowhere.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Well, I think, let's see, the rule, I think another big one is, you got to work really hard to make a living. You got to work hard. If you don't work hard, you're not going to make enough money.
Right.
That's a real interesting one.
Yeah, it is. Boy,
and
is it.
you know, what I've learned is that now you work smarter, not harder, because you can work smarter and make double what you made before if you work smarter.
Right. That's true.
Right? I mean,
that is
that's
true.
just such a.
And I got that too. And I'm your mother.
There you go.
So we have to break that chain. We're breaking that chain now.
It's broken.
It's all broken.
It's broken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that that's these rules that we grow up with, they're just a trip, right? So we're going to dive deeper into this conversation with our guests. But before we do, let's go to commercial break. Wow.
Look
We are
who
back.
showed up. Wow.
She's in it today. She's in the joy mode. Gotta love it. Well,
Yes.
let's welcome our beautiful guests, and let's have each one of you just say, who you are and, what you do real quick, and then we'll dive into this
The
amazing
question.
conversation. So who wants to go first?
All right, you want me to go?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm Judy Romanoff, better known professionally as Coach Judy. I turned a family issue into creating the National Single Parent Resource Center, which in turn opened the door to be a talk show host, guest on talk shows, producing a video for single parent families, and loving what I do.
Awesome.
Thank
you,
you.
Judy. Welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Lysa Beltz, and my first name is spelled Lysa, and so I always say that I am Lisa with a Y, a WHY. Just kind of helps people remember. It's like, yes, my name is pronounced normally, it's just spelled
Right.
funny. And so I'm a personal empowerment coach, a spiritual mentor. I describe myself as a purpose midwife. I walk alongside women who have these incredible ideas that just need either a helping hand or accountability and encouragement, and just really helping them to step into their God-given destinies. I'm also a podcast host on Barbara's Network, and I also do inner healing work. So there's just a variety of things. And if that's not enough, I'm also a life insurance agent. So I kind of help everybody, body, soul, spirit, and finances.
Yay, a one-stop shop. So today we're going to talk about, this amazing topic about the rules we were given, right? So we kind of were talking briefly about that. One of the things I said is, you got to work hard. That's another rule, and I'm like, wait a minute. I could get that rule, but that doesn't mean I have to do the rule.
Correct.
I can make my own rule, like work smarter, not harder.
Right.
So go ahead.
And then also one of them that children, and it's so interesting. Children are to be seen and not heard. Once I hear my voice, I haven't shut up. So it's like, really, it's true. So yeah, those are the things that were instilled with us as we were growing up.
Yeah. So what about you all? What comes up when we were talking about that? Who wants to go first with that one?
Well, I can say that as a coach and who has walked the talk, I found as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, the biggest thing that stood out in my mind was you don't talk about personal things and family things out in public.
Right.
And I did that, and which is what launched my career, is by speaking out about what was going on, what I was doing, and they were not happy about it. So I think that was the biggest thing that stood out in my mind is you keep personal things private, family things private. You don't talk about it. You don't put it in the newspaper. You don't do these things. But today, in order to put the word out and help people understand what you're trying to do and how you got into doing the work that you're doing, you can't help but explain a little bit, which ends up to some being a personal story.
Right.
It sure does.
Perfectly said. Yeah, 100%.
And the truth is people love personal stories
They
because
do.
then they can relate as well.
Relate.
Yeah.
And I think too, we were talking about generations too. It's like that was such an old paradigm generation from these rules were given, and I think now this new generation or learning from the generation that we can make a different rule. We don't have to stay in that generational, rule, if you will. Yeah.
So that's a good one.
And I'm going to kind of pick up that thread and just run away for a second because, my parents' generation and even the generation before that, they wore a lot of facades. And it was, it was the don't air your dirty laundry. It's pretend like everything's perfect, even when it's not. And it kept so much junk buried and hidden that, our ancestors, if you would, even the last couple of generations back, didn't ever have a chance to heal. And so, we have such a different approach, and particularly as coaches, in the personal growth arena, it really is giving people permission to drop the facades, to drop that false front and be honest, because much of that just wasn't honest, and talk about a rule. And so the rule, like Judy said, was don't air your dirty laundry. Don't talk about your personal things in public. But wow, what a negative impact that had on so many things.
Yeah.
Well, I think it ended up taking away our ability to develop self-esteem, because we were caught into you don't express. Well, if you don't express, how do you hear and learn from others and grow from it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really true. It's really true.
We can't really
and one of the other
put the oxygen mask on first and take care of our own personal self-care. How are we going to do that? It's so opposite of what we were learning.
So
when we were growing
the
up,
thing is, how did you break the chain?
You personally.
And again, that's a really interesting question. And so I spent 40 years in corporate America, and over the last 10 years, I started this personal growth journey. And so it's just been in the last 10 years that I've broken that. And so it is finally acknowledging that I deserve space.
Yeah.
I get to claim my life as valuable and worthy, and I'm worth the energy and using my voice and standing up for those things. And so it's not being selfish. In my coaching, I talk about the difference between self-love and love of self. And again, talk about another rule is, don't be arrogant, don't be prideful, all of those kinds of things.
Don't be selfish.
Right.
Don't be selfish. Exactly. But so there is the arrogance and the pride that comes with love of self, but self-love is essential.
Yeah.
And we were not taught that. I look at my mom and how selflessly she lived her life. I mean, she is one of my heroes, but there was very little self-care. It was not a concept that even existed, I don't think.
I almost feel like, when they say, the generation before us, I almost feel like the generation before us, even before you, but before me, they had to have those rules for things to evolve, for us to get a different perspective and reality. Like,
that's good.
Wait a minute, we don't have to follow that. We're breaking that generational pattern, if you will. And I think that they did the legwork for that. They took the pain of that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I never thought of that until we started talking about this, but it really makes perfect sense. You hear actors and actresses, if it weren't for this actress before me or this journalist before me, we wouldn't be where we are today. And that's how I feel with the generations before.
Yeah, totally the same.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because when you really start self-care and self-love, and if people are not used to it, they consider that being selfish.
Yeah.
And to break that chain is amazing. I mean, really, you're looking upon and, the whole thing, but yet, as long as you thrive in that and really take care of yourself, and then you start to see, wow, this really feels good. It's really not going to matter what they feel and what they see and how they, they can say certain things. It's not going to affect you the same way, or having to defend it and say, oh no, I did have to go for a pedicure, but they all of that stuff. Yeah. So it's a huge freedom that we give ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Well, and we're setting the standard and the model for the generations coming behind us. I have a daughter that's in her mid-30s, and I have little granddaughters that are, 2 and 4. And I keep thinking so much about what I do now is going to set the stage for those little girls. Yeah. And so not only are we looking back and learning from the prior generations, we're living here, but we're setting the stage for these young ones coming behind us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
we
so
have
true.
that with
Yeah.
my granddaughter, and we
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
with her
When she
She
was
was like
God,
at
I
4 or
don't know.
5.
Yeah, we taught her about how to use her anger instead of her anger using her, and how to
Yeah.
get it healthy and how to express things that are uncomfortable, but just to allow her to feel it. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, her emotional intelligence is over the top.
amazing.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
amazing. Like
My
I would always say to her-
granddaughter's the same way already.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
I always say to her, I wish I had your confidence, and mostly all her life.
Yeah, all her life.
Mhm.
Yeah, all her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You know,
know?
one of the areas that I coach in is I work with women coming out of jail and prison with drug and alcohol addiction. And one of the things that we use with them is a piece of paper that just has rows and rows of faces representing the different emotions. I don't remember. There's probably a formal name for it. But again, so many of these women
Yeah.
don't have the emotional intelligence to even be able to describe and connect to what they're feeling. And again, in these families that were so dysfunctional,
Mhm.
that generational stigma and that lack of awareness is just rampant. And so just giving women words and the ability to express what they're feeling is just huge.
I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, people that are, I was talking to someone, and people that are maybe even in their 30s or 20s, well, 30s,
Yeah.
you know, were in this kind of family where they just couldn't even distinguish what feelings they were feeling. They had no
Yeah.
clue what they were feeling. So now they go out in the world and they're like chameleons. Let me latch on to this
Mhm.
person because that
Yes.
feels good. Let me latch on to that person so that feels good. So they really have no sense of self because they're projecting
Yes.
all of that out there. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting that you don't have the tools. And as coaches, I mean, that's what we do. We give tools, we give substantial tools so they can navigate life in a different way. Yeah.
That's really good.
It is so powerful.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many times you could say to somebody that always searches outside, and just for that quick moment, they get this sense of something feels different or something feels good. But then when that person or a situation leaves, they're back to themselves. So
Yeah.
it always comes back, I think, to an awareness, number one. But I love having people touch their heart. It opens up something that is the most
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful gift that you can give them.
Yeah.
And the
Absolutely.
emotions just start to come out.
Yeah. We're lucky. We're lucky. We're
Yeah.
the lucky ones in life, I say. I really do. So let me ask you, Lysa, is there any other life rule you were taught or growing up that no longer serves you today that you can think of?
Yeah, and it's the same one that you mentioned. It's the work hard. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think the words were ever spoken, but if you're not giving 110%, you're slacking.
Right.
Right?
So
And
funny.
so, you know, I spent 40
What else would be a belief? Well, not to talk about anybody, even though that's really a good one.
Don't talk about
But
anyone.
right,
It's not
you're not
okay
allowed.
to share
You're not
about anybody else.
And
Just-
that came in my family, that when somebody gets divorced or someone dies, nobody ever knows. Nobody knows. They don't want to let you know, and they don't want to talk about it.
I think there's a
And
lot of shame.
A lot of
A lot
shame.
of shame back in
A lot,
those
yes.
generations.
Yeah, totally a lot of shame. And I didn't get that until I coached my mother at 84. And I got to see all that connection to the shame that she felt and how she could not move forward. No matter
Wow.
what. It did get to a point where it was kind of too hard for her. So we just kind of stopped it. But I
But you
mean,
got a
some
lot of
wonderful
headway.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
we really did. And she was open, and she was a very free-spirited woman for her times.
Yes. Amazing.
So yeah, she really was.
I know where she came from.
It's interesting you should say that, because I look at my mom and it's like, did I really know her? Who really was she? Because everything was so, as you said, private. They didn't express themselves to us, so how could we learn and grow from them? It's only what we saw visually and maybe through discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that too, Judy, because even my dad, who's in that generation, he'll say, oh, you don't really know me. And I'm thinking, you're right. I know you. You don't know you. You showed who you've been, but is it really who he is? It's what he was taught, and how his generation was taught. The tough school.
Right. And some of these beliefs I think have helped us. I don't know about you guys, but it really
Absolutely
has definitely helped us. Do you agree?
I agree. If we're open and like Lysa, we're looking at and we understand as coaches human dynamics.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we talk about generational weaknesses, but there's a lot of generational strengths.
Absolutely.
And this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's like culture has to have structure. And so some of that structure is made up of rules. It's how everybody knows to drive on the right side of the road, correct? Without some rules, without some structure, things are just chaotic.
Yeah.
And so then it's each generation, I think, has to figure out what their rules of the road are.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because there are fundamental rules. Like the fundamentals, like, well, in order to cross the street, you might want to stop and look at the sign before you go, or else you get hit by a car.
Right.
There are fundamental rules that are essential to living a safer life.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
And how we navigate through those different things in our life really comes into the rules we decide we want to make for ourselves at work.
Yeah.
To say that the other generations and the rules don't work, you learn from it. So was it bad? No. Was it wrong? Absolutely not. You learn something valuable from it. I know I did.
But I also think it's the growth that we have achieved being boomers on my end, and seeing the transition of the different generations from that standpoint. It's like different. It's like, even like of my field being with divorce and single parent families, I'll never forget one of our students parents were getting a divorce, and it became that they made an announcement in the classroom at school to let people know that they were getting a divorce, but wasn't like talking to her, and you almost like, she must be different then. So I think that whole picture has changed today.
Oh yeah.
I think divorce today is rampant. I mean, there's no shame involved in it.
Right.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
It's almost like the mores of then and now.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Lysa?
That things evolve, right? And sometimes there's just this truly a decision to change a rule, but I think more often than not, it's an evolution rather than a decision.
I agree.
I do too.
It is,
and it can be a positive or a negative.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and you could talk about like, everyone's talking about AI and how it's good and how it's not. It's like anything else. You use it for what you need, and then you throw away the rest. That's not, you use it for the good, not for all the other stuff. And unfortunately, that's always going to happen with technology. You're always going to have limitations or structures for kids and things that are not appropriate. I mean, I think that's evolution, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go back to the invention of the car, right?
Right.
People that were in the horse and buggy era, the transition from horse and buggy to a motorized vehicle, those things are awful. They're terrible. They're going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
It's how you use it.
And now there's cars that are flying. Yeah. Did you know that? There's cars that they're flying.
I know. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. So but the Amish still use horse and buggy.
Yeah, they are.
For them, the Amish.
And they're very good at natural remedies.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They really are. So it's
Yeah, boy, talk about some rules, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
boy, oh boy. That's
And again,
for
there's strengths and negatives. There's strengths and
Yes.
positives.
I think that's with everything, though. If you really look at the different situations, you can find really both. But it's like, where does your mind go? Are you a person who thinks from a positive standpoint, or is your mind always going to the negatives or the bad rather than the good and what can come out of it?
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
And that's like the neural pathways
Of the brain.
in the brain.
Just changing
Just
those neural
changing that.
pathways that you've been
Yeah.
taught,
Yeah.
that you're comfortable to change it and to
Right.
really reprogram.
Because
Your
that's your
brain.
old story. And,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting this particular time with the neural pathways and what the scientists are really showing and proving about it.
Yep.
Definitely. But I also want to say that for people, like, I know from myself and my experiences, who I was 40 years ago is not the person I am 10 years later after that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's a process. I mean, you just don't change overnight. It's learning and adapting and accepting and trying them out till they become second nature to you.
Yeah, 100%. I just think that's the level of having patience with
Yes.
yourself and just really, it's a process. This
It is.
this
It's
earth
all a
pool is
process.
one big process.
Yeah. It's true. And the other thing is, how do you navigate now that you have all this information? How do you navigate with people like in families that have no clue?
skills or tools. Yeah.
It's tolerance.
Tolerance. That's a good one. What about you, Lisa? What do you see with that?
Compassion, a lot of compassion, particularly for older, the older generations that just don't think the way we think, and their brains are a little more set. It's harder for them to accept and
Yes.
embrace new things.
Yes, and
It's
embrace
true.
anything you have to say. So, basically it's true. It really is. Both my sisters, that's it. They have never worked on themselves. So I come in and it's like, balls to the wall. Here she is again.
And she'll share her wisdom
Yes.
and have compassion at the
Yes, I
same
do.
time. She
I
does.
do.
You
I
do.
definitely do. Okay.
So we, ladies, are going to just take another quick commercial break, and then we will be back.
Yay.
We are back, and
Oh,
wow, what a
what a great
conversation, right?
conversation. I love this.
it,
I
love
really
it,
do.
love it, love it. The rules we were given and
Yeah.
the ladies were amazing.
They were fabulous. They really were.
So, a little golden nugget, an action step people can take from this
Mhm.
conversation, some wisdom to share. I think, go ahead, you were going to say what one of your actions was that they can do for themselves to really rewrite the rule or
One rule, anyhow, that you want to rewrite about, whatever it is. What could it be? Like you don't have a voice. So I'm now speaking up and I'm going to test it out and see how it feels. But I'll write it and I'll test it with somebody that I feel safe with.
Yeah.
and start using that muscle, to strengthen it. And what do you have?
Well, I think journaling is always good.
Always.
I always go to journaling too, because I think it's important to just maybe write those rules that you were given, write them out. What are those rules that you were given that are still keeping you possibly stuck in the past of that same old story and not being able to do things differently? Because I think knowing that you can change the rules, it is a choice, it is an awareness. And once you write out what those rules were, then you can just put next to it, my new rule is I'm going to be freer in the way that I share my communication instead of keeping it private and holding shame around it. I think that's important too.
Okay. I like my way better, but that's okay. That's the
Two
way I
ways
think.
to go.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I
matter
would just
either
take
way.
one rule and just write out the most positive thing that you can write about that particular rule. And I think that is huge. I really do.
Yeah.
So-
And I think possibly, maybe you can look in the mirror and start just mirroring your new rule.
Well, say it to yourself.
Mirror and
Say it out loud to
Yeah.
the mirror.
My new rule is
Yeah.
I'm open and free. I'm going to share freely, and just keep doing that. Keep allowing yourself to feel it. Put your hand on your chest so you start to feel the emotion and allow it to just move through you.
Yeah.
So I think that's really
good.
our golden nugget
Yeah.
for today, but just stay tuned because we are going to be back and on track with another Enlightened View series. So until then,
We love you. We thank you. We honor you.
and
Mwah.
bye for now.
Bye.
In a world that's rushing, we slow it down, finding light where shadows surround, heart to heart where the truth is told.